and welcome to a warm night in Western Australia, where the Perth Glory look to play disruptors to a history-making streak for the Newcastle Jets. It's round 17 of the Isuzu UTE A-League. It's Friday the 13th, and we know Friday night under lights at HBF Park always delivers. The home side there in the Isuzu UTE Tunnel Cam, undefeated in their last two. They came away with just a point in their draw with Macarthur last weekend, while the high-flying Jets touched down in Perth on top of the A-League ladder. 6 games undefeated, the chance to make it 7 tonight. Captain's leading the line, Max Burgess at the charge for the Jets. All in waiting. Well, their last 5 meetings at HBF Park, Perth have failed to defeat the Jets. So safe to say Newcastle travel well to the west. And the win probability has the Jets trending in that direction. Pitch looking perfect, as always, at HBF Park. 3 changes to Perth, the starting side for this evening. Leading marksman Tom Lawrence is out, sidelined with plantar fasciitis, and so Adam Taggart returns to the 11, having recovered from a glute injury. Luca Tevere is straight into the starting 11, the club announcing his signing just 3 days ago, and Jaden Kaczarski comes in for his 7th start of the season. There is Luca Tevere. It's an A-League debut for the Glory's newest recruit, and it comes in the way of a starting spot. Tevere wearing the number 18. You might be familiar with him from his impressive Australia Cup run with NPL club Avondale. In fact, in the semi-final of that competition, he scored a brace against the Newcastle Jets. A big job ahead of him this evening. Well, for the 5th consecutive game, Mark Milligan names an unchanged starting 11. It's been effective in recent weeks. Max Burgess remains at the base of midfield and has provided great mobility for the Newcastle side, with Lockie Bayliss and Will Dobson rounding out the midfield. Countless goals through the front 3 of Eli Adams, Lockie Rose and Clayton Taylor. Well, there he is, the number 13, Clayton Taylor. He's certainly been a joy to watch in recent weeks. And at the centre of everything for the Jets, the 21-year-old, he's got 21 A-League goals, which draws him level at the club with Dimi Petratus. Adam Griffiths has emphasised the need for his players to perform across the week in training should they want to be selected. And from all accounts, that's what's led Luca Tevere to his first professional start. Arion Suleimani misses out today. Mark Milligan, well, he cuts a fairly relaxed figure. The team travelled to Perth on Tuesday, a 3-night lead-in in the west for the Newcastle Jets, and plenty of time to become accustomed at HBF Park. Referee tonight, Lockie Keevers in his 40th A-League match. And VAR, should we need it this evening. Kearney Robinson and Daniel Elder in the booth. So Burgess in that holding midfield role. And a professional debut, Luca Tevere. What an excitement it is to see him in the A-League. A deserved selection, you'd have to say as well, as Perth look to get things underway. And it's captain Adam Taggart with the first touch of the game. Perth with the kick-off. Round 17 fixture at HBF Park. One that has well and truly favoured the visiting team, the Newcastle Jets, in recent history. And it's a pleasure to be joined in commentary tonight by Phil Moss. Mossy, great to see you. What are you expecting from this one?
Yeah, good evening, Gigi. Great to be alongside you for this one as well. Exciting night. Perth, late night games at HBF Park never have ever let me down. So I'm expecting goals and action tonight, but both teams with a real point to prove. A win for Perth can actually catapult them into the 6 on goal difference, which is quite remarkable. And Newcastle, of course, well, they have been must-watch and all action, and I'm sure Mike Milligan will have spent the week preparing his team brilliantly over in the West.
Well, it has been a long lead in. Newcastle arriving in Perth on Tuesday, so they've had 3 nights in the West to acclimatise, to settle in. And Millsy spoke about not just the importance of that time on the training ground, but also just as a group. So long ball searching over the top is straight to Matt Sutton to settle things down.
Yeah, you make a good point too, and we heard Millsy in the pre-match talk about observing his players off the pitch as well. So it wasn't just about what they did on the training pitch, it's watching them around the hotel. It's his attention to detail that made him such a fantastic pro and gave him such a great career.
There's a nice flash forward here if Perth can make it work. Cuts inside, the shot away early, and it's just flashed past the far post. Sam Sutton with a nice look early.
That's a really early sighter for Sam Sutton. He cut inside very well, made the space for the shot as Perth used both sides of the pitch, brings Sam Sutton into the game. He takes his defender on the inside, onto his right foot, probably his less preferred right foot, and he gets a decent strike away. Just couldn't find the target. Positive start by the home side.
Of course, a couple of changes for Perth. Tom Lawrence, a big out. The leading striker with a bit of plantar fasciitis, we understand, nursing that. Nick Pennington also out of the squad altogether tonight with a groin issue, we've been told. And in most recent news, Luke Amos has departed the club for a K-League 2 side, Paju Frontier. So we've seen the last of Luke Amos in Perth Glory colours.
Yeah, a little bit of movement, as we've seen at many clubs over the last few weeks. But I think, you know, Adam Taggart coming back into the side is absolutely huge news for Perth Glory. But plantar fasciitis for Tom Lawrence, years and years ago when I used to play the game, I had plantar fasciitis. It's not much fun, Gilly, I can tell you, and it can hang around for a long time.
A little nervy touches at the back for Perth as that clearance from Matt Sutton sails over the sideline. Newcastle Jets in an advanced position here. Mark Natter. Still the rumours swirl about his connection with Norwegian side Bodo Glimt. Nothing certain about that move just yet. Appearance number 101 tonight in the A-League for Mark Natter, celebrating his 100th last week against Adelaide United. Here he is on the ball now. Hustled along into the back of Despotovsky. Good pressure. Here's Burgess. Seems to have snuck over the line. No, says the assistant referee. Chance for Perth to build again from the back. You can see Newcastle just starting to shape their defensive positions.
Yeah, and high up the pitch, which is nice to see. A lot of the times opposing teams come to Perth and they just sit off in a midfield block or a deeper block to conserve some energy. Newcastle look like they're prepared to press high from the start, which is good news. I am sure part of the preparation by Adam Griffiths this week was making sure Charbel Shamoon and Sam Sutton were on notice, because they've got a massive job this evening stopping the likes of Eli Adams and Clayton Taylor, who have been in sparkling form for the Jets. So those one-on-one battles in the wide areas is going to be a feature tonight.
Well, Clayton Taylor and Lockie Rose jostling in the Golden Boot race. Some great finishes we've seen from those two across the course of the season. Eli Adams as well, a wonderful contributor. The front three fairly lethal for the Newcastle Jets at the moment, which pretty comfortably explains Newcastle's attack 37 goals for the season, which is far and beyond the best attack we've seen so far. Both Adelaide United and, interestingly, Wellington Phoenix not too far behind with their goals across the course of the season.
Yeah, another 2 for Phoenix this evening in the earlier game, coming from 2-0 down to snatch a point at Western Sydney. But I think the thing with Newcastle, they thrive on an open field, a fractured field, if you like, broken play when they win the ball. And they are so lethal in transition going forward. And that's where Perth are going to have to be careful tonight. Gilly is, I don't like calling it rest defence because there should be no rest in football, but certainly how Perth set up when they've got the ball, because when it breaks down, that is when Newcastle are at their most dangerous.
Early in the season, it was Perth who stole all 3 points from this exact fixture back in round 5. But a lot has changed since then. We know the Newcastle Jets are on an historic 6-game winning streak. Never before has the club done that. Tonight, they could extend that to 7. Here's Natta. Now Will Marine. That pass left a little short, but tidied up well, Bayliss. His touch a bit long, but he manages to get through a bit of traffic quite well. Still Bayliss.
It's a phenomenal record, isn't it? The streak that they're on, Newcastle. I mean, you think about them lifting the Australia Cup, and then they didn't have the best of starts. It was reasonably positive over maybe the first couple of rounds, and then they hit a ditch and really struggled for a few weeks, and then haven't they turned it around? Going for 7 straight wins this evening.
Well, they've been scoring for fun. And those 6 wins on the trot, 17 goals scored, just the 6 conceded. Lockie Rose would love to add to his tally of 7 for the season so far. Hear the Shed in voice already, which has been a great fixture. Lovely ball skips through over the top. Taylor almost prods it through. Sutton is out. Heavy contact, not quite dealt with by Perth. The pressure continuing for Newcastle. In the end, it is pushed away.
Well, that was almost disaster for Perth at the back.
Early look over the top finds Taggart. Wilmarine retreating and needed to.
Matt Sutton, I should say, he really had to be alert on the edge of his box, as we see just there. And then the second challenge comes in from Lockie Rose, almost blindsided Sutton, but he did just enough to clear the danger.
With Newcastle to build from their defence, using every edge of the field so far, stretching from side to side. Bayliss helps back onto Adams. First to it is Sutton. Nice little give, but Kaltak just nips in front.
They're just starting to build some sustained pressure on Perth. Newcastle have kept the ball in the Perth half now for the last few moments. And looking for their combinations around the box. So that final pass at the moment isn't sticking.
Quick throw, again dealt with comfortably by Newcastle. Rose's touch is a little wayward, but he's a willing runner. A lot of pressure from Newcastle, forcing the long clearance from Sutton, gifting the ball straight back to the Jets. All the way back through Delianov. That's his pass is blocked by Despotovsky. Daniel Wilmarine, who's having a really sound season for Newcastle. 5 assists so far for the season. Great contributions, but now some defending to do. Taggart can't quite get a clean piece of it. Good pressure again by Newcastle's defence.
Yeah, Mark Natter stuck to his job, didn't he? And when you see Adam Taggart with the ball in front of him facing the target inside the 18-yard box and then inside the 6-yard box, you've really got to stay true to your defensive responsibility, and Natter won on that occasion. Here we see the ball over the top. Adam Taggart just about to pull the trigger. He's just waiting for the ball to come down, and Natter stuck a toe in just in the nick of time.
Well, Taggart was out of the squad last week with that glute injury. He's returned to fitness and looks to be moving well. A stooping header from Caltac. Referee plays advantage. Sutton pass one, brought to ground by Rose.
I'm not sure either player's going to enjoy this comparison, but I see so much of the younger Matty Simon in Lockie Rose, the way he just harasses defenders when they're on the ball. He's willing to press. He presses with aggression. Everything he does is with aggression. Doesn't mind being the agitator, and he's got a lot more quality than what some people may give him credit for as well. A rich vein of scoring this season for sure.
Well, I hope Matty Simon's listening, because it's quite the compliment there, Bossy.
Well, I'm not sure if I'll get a complimentary text message or an abusive one if Simo did hear that, but nonetheless, both very, very, very good A-League players. Lockie Rose, no doubt, will be hoping to lift the sort of silverware that Matty Simon did in his career.
Down the line, searching for Taylor. Caltac is across the clearance. Not quite the effect that he would have hoped for. First corner of the evening.
Yeah, it's a good running behind. Very well timed. Brian Caltac, not for the first time, snuffs out a potentially dangerous situation. Set piece it is for Newcastle.
So the outswinger, the left boot of Eli Adams. Plenty of runners. Just drops as it's nodded away by Perth's defence. Still with Newcastle, Will Marine. Adams again. Cuts one past the other. Kaczarski's done well. Just to pick the pocket. A little too cute to find Despotovsky. And Newcastle back with possession. This is largely the picture we've seen in this opening almost 15 minutes. Newcastle just trying to find a way forward, picking their way through Perth defence as they've done again here. Bayliss slips it through to Rose. If you can find the challenge across, is an important intervention from Wootton.
That's a really good defensive intervention from Wootton. Fantastically weighted pass from Bayliss to pick out the run of Lockie Rose. Look at that. He just picks the run perfectly. He just tried to get his left foot underneath the ball there to lift it over Matt Sutton in the Perth goal.
Well, now a chance for Newcastle. The long-range effort. Oh, that's superb. And Lockie Bayliss gets the Newcastle Jets off to a flying start. They are loving life at the moment.
Well, there's nothing B-grade about that strike from Lockie Bayliss. That is absolutely brilliant from the edge of the area as they take the corner quickly from wide on the left. Perth Glory just couldn't get enough pressure on the ball, and Bayliss sees the far post gaping, and he says, "Thank you very much. I'll wrap my toe around that on the Harvey Norman replay." That's a wonderful finish from outside the box. Poorly defended by Perth Glory, but absolute reward from a very positive start by the visitors.
What a season Lockie Bayliss is having. His 4th for the year. The 23-year-old has really grown in stature. So after the last 5 fixtures of Newcastle visiting Perth is anything to go by, this is consistent. Perth have failed to win at home against the Jets in the last 5. Perth, a right of reply perhaps. Cross into the box, headed away. Freeney, long-range effort.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad first touch from Will Freeney to set himself up for the strike. And I think the ball, once it was played in behind the Newcastle defence, I think the ball had to come across the face first time, and nice and early. Perth had willing runners.
It's been a strong start from Newcastle. Taylor can turn into space. This time, it's Diabrou just tidying up for Perth. Shamoon. Down the line to Despotovsky. Good work from Charbel Shamoon. That's just towed away by Clayton Taylor. It'll be a Perth corner.
Well, it's a good reaction from Perth, isn't it, to going behind. They're back on the front foot, punching a few little holes in the Newcastle defensive structure. Gee whiz, what a strike from Lockie Bayliss. Eli Adams, Clayton Taylor been grabbing most of the headlines. That will put Lockie Bayliss's name up in lights.
The in-swinger for Perth. Hung up into the centre of the park. A big punch from Delianov. Now with Tevere on debut. Luca Tevere. Interrupted by Burgess. Likewise by Shamoon. 23-year-old. Great success at Avondale. Moved to the Preston Lions. And on to Perth glory, Luca Tevere. Certainly stood out in the Australia Cup. It's a nice idea over the top. Despotovsky will get the loose ball. Kacharski inside. Turns towards Natta and past him. Kacharski into Burgess. Another chance, long-range effort. Freeney, his eyes on target.
Yeah, the other side not long ago. And now he's got one on target. I'm interested to hear the thoughts of Jacob Burns on the sideline for us when we get down to him soon, just about that strike. I reckon from his vantage point he would have been right behind it off the boot of Lockie Bayliss. Wonderful goal.
Well, plenty happening in this opening stanza. Jacob Burns, what are you seeing down on the sideline?
Hi guys, yeah, geez, it's been thoroughly deserved. Newcastle have come right out of the blocks and have been so impressive, not only with them controlling the tempo of the game, but particularly their front press. They're making it very difficult, and it's taken a goal for Glory to respond.
Well, maybe a response here. Tevere grappling for possession. Burgess gets front position.
And Burnsy, you were right behind that strike from Lockie Bayliss.
Yes, I mean, Griffo was livid with the lack of pressure, but also the lead up to that with Kacharski giving the ball away, and he's been adamant that they need to be better in controlling it. But yeah, it was, from where I was, it was an incredible strike. He had enough time to pick that, and going through them numbers is very hard for Sutton to see that.
Thank you, Burnsy. It's been a fast start, a real flurried opening 20 minutes at HBF Park. Warm evening in Perth. Kacharski over the top. There's been some questions around Jayden Kacharski, his impact off the bench, how impressive he's been. Tonight he gets the nod, his 7th start of the season. And no doubt he'll want to impress the 23-year-old.
Yeah, it's always a challenge for coaches when you've got a player like Kacharski who just time and time again impacts games in a positive way off the bench. And of course, in a player's mind, that will mean that they think they're pushing for a starting spot, and then Adam Griffiths brings him into the starting 11, and what that does, it gives him his chance to prove that he can do it from the start. It also gives Adam Griffiths one less player that he knows he can bring off the bench late in the game against tiring legs.
Perth's two leading goal scorers in Tom Lawrence and Nick Pennington not in the matchday squad tonight. So you do look to the Taggarts, the Kacharskis of the world. And Shamoon stretches the pass wide to Despotovsky. Taggart is central. Down the line to Shamoon, and Will Marine is close enough to disrupt. Here's the goal scorer. Bayliss down the line to Taylor. Little give and go, and Bayliss has a bit of space in front. Asking for a bit of support. Comes through the likes of Burgess, threads the pass nicely to Adams.
Such a good pass from Burgess. He could have gone square then, but he saw the pass at late notice, really, where it could have broken the lines, and he played that one just to perfection. It amounted to nothing, but the more you punch the holes and hit your penetrating passes through the lines, the more it puts the opposition on red alert every time you're on the ball. And Burgess's range of passing into those pockets has been a real feature of the Newcastle Jets season. Gone to a new level. Mark Milligan deploying him in a deeper midfield role this season to what we were used to seeing him play at Sydney FC, and he's taken to it like a duck to water.
Yeah, he's looked fantastic in there, Burgess. Costa Grozos, he's been out for a couple of weeks with injury. A calf injury he's been nursing, so that was originally where Max Burgess was deployed, in that holding midfield role. He's looked really comfortable, really competent since, and it's definitely provided a next level of mobility for this Newcastle Jets midfield. Shamoon has a bit of space in front. Decision to make. Prods it forward to Despotovsky, but Will Marine is close by. Will Marine just added another assist for the season, making it his 6th. Challenge a little too heavy-handed from Will Freeney. Jets get things moving again. Down the line, it's a nice ball to Will Marine. First time early ball across the face of the goal, dealt with by Wooten. Despotovsky retreating to contribute, but that pass is straight back to the Newcastle defence. Perth just struggling to find a way out of this Newcastle shape.
Yeah, they certainly are, and you can give credit to Newcastle as well. Just technically in tight areas, their ability to keep the ball. And again, it's the standards that Mark Milligan, Nick Stavroulakis, the coaching staff are driving in every training session, and attention to detail, getting the basics, the fundamentals right. It just keeps building pressure on their opponents.
Newcastle retreat all the way through Delianov. Now build again through Natta. Now Will Marine. Patient play this by the visiting team. A little bit of pressure forces the long clearance from Delianov. The history of this fixture favours Perth Glory. Tonight, the 77th meeting between the teams. 38 wins for the Glory, and just 16 for Newcastle. 22 times the encounter has ended in a draw.
I dare say most of those draws would have been score draws. Not often you'd see the dull scoreless draw between these two sides over the years.
Bertolicio has been brought to ground. Just his 20th A-League appearance for Joel Bertolicio. Industrious player, gets through a wealth of work. 22-year-old. Beautiful night at HBF Park. Still warm conditions, about 25 degrees as the temperature just starts to dip. But now here's a really good chance for Newcastle. Adams off the left boot, swings it into a dangerous area. Wooten is first to it, retreating. And releasing the pass. It's back with Newcastle. Burgess again doing the tidy-up work. That's nice, neat touches by Adams. Slip to Lockie Rose. Adams again. Finds Dobson in tight spaces. Shaughnessy, nice touch down the line to Bertolicio, back inside to Taylor, who's switched sides. Last 5 minutes, 21% the way of the home team, 79 to Newcastle, really in the driver's seat at the moment, and have a bit more to say about that. Adams, crossing is blocked, Newcastle corner.
Just look at this technique on the replay. Eli Adams, he had absolutely no right to get out of that area. Quick feet, uses his body well, drops his shoulder, gets out, and he's able to keep the attack going. Just brilliant. Enjoy him while he's in the A-League, because I've got a funny feeling he won't be here for much longer. Wonderful young talent.
Oh, that's a delightful pass through. A reverse ball searching for the aforementioned player in Eli Adams. A-League appearance number 60 tonight for Adams, and what a couple of years he has had. That's neatly done on the far side by Despotovsky, but again, just as quickly as it's won, it's back with Newcastle.
Well, there's an example of Max Burgess really coming to grips with his new position deeper in midfield. Look at that. For someone who used to be known as a playmaker, and he still is, just from a deeper area, but he's not going to shirk his defensive responsibilities and put his body on the line either. It's really been one of the highlights for me, watching his evolution at the Newcastle Jets. Always a wonderful technician. Just some of the things that he's added to his game now. It's a credit to him and the coaching staff at Newcastle.
Undoubtedly, Mossy. Max Burgess, one of the best passers in the league. Both passing the eye test and the stats test. But now with some defending to do. Here's Charbel Shamoon. Wolmerine takes a little slip. Taggart returns the pass to Shamoon. Cut back on debut as Tevere shouts for a handball. I'll have a look at that one as play goes on. Little tug of the shirt, Clayton Taylor. Now end-to-end, Adams. Caltac to beat. Doesn't have much in the way of support. Lockie Rose floating in the middle. Finds Bayliss inside. Now Burgess. Dobson and back to Wilmering. Plenty happening down this near side for Newcastle's attack. Just looking to pick their moment. Here's Wilmering. Bayliss. Back through Natta. Shaughnessy. Stretching the field wide through Bertolicio, and back they'll go again. 30-minute mark, half hour have passed, and it's gone by quickly. It's been a really entertaining opening 30 minutes. Taylor between the lines, slowed down by Freeney, but only just. Still Clayton Taylor. Good strength. Adam Taggart drops it into the path of Kaczarski. And Shaughnessy had to be there, still alive for the Perth Glory. Tavares in the middle. If Despotovski can find him, the referee does produce a yellow card. Seb Despotovski.
Yeah, he just overplayed his hand a bit there, young Despotovski. I thought he had the opportunity to deliver into the box, but he took the extra touch and then found himself in trouble and committed the foul in his desperate attempts to keep possession of the ball. And here's the foul again. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else other in that than a yellow card. I think it's anything more sinister. The studs were showing, there's no doubt, but he was at full stretch. Not that they tickle. Those ones on the outside of the ankle.
Burnsy, what did you make of that one on the sideline?
Yeah, geez, it was, I think a yellow card sufficed, but I'm just in awe of Newcastle Jets at the minute. They are controlling every moment of this game. They've been so impressive, as you guys have alluded to, in controlling the game, but so impressive in the breakdown. They look like a far superior and fitter, I've got to say, a fitter team than Glory are tonight. I don't know if it's part of their prep as well, but they're quick across the ground from sitting here on the sideline.
Yeah, something that's really impressed me, Burnsy, too, is, and we talk about them being, well, they are on average the youngest side in the league, but their maturity and their patience on the ball in advanced areas. They don't rush things, they don't force passes. They're prepared to wait their time for the right pass. Yeah,
you're right, Mossy. That's been one of the most impressive things, like early on in this first half, is they've managed to pick the moments when they want, but when they go, that the speed in which they break the lines and the way they do it has been so impressive. And you've leaned on a few of the guys, in Eli Adams and Taylor, and Lockie Rose. They all seem to complement each other in the breakdown and when they're trying to get forward. But impressive, very impressive.
Just a yellow there for Seb Despotovski, second of the season. Good to see that Will Dobson looks to be okay to continue, but those ones, you know about them, certainly for a few days to follow. Still, Newcastle in the driver's seat. Clever movement, as always, by Lockie Rose, just running off the shoulder of his defender, Kaltak, aware to the danger. Bayless. Taylor, neat control. Perhaps a little uncharacteristic in the cross from Clayton Taylor.
Yeah, it certainly was. The final touch wasn't what he was looking for, but the first touch was outstanding. And for all young players, have a look at the way, and we'll try and get the replay of it, but the way he takes the ball on the turn and doesn't stop the ball. He knows where the space is in a tight area. Here it is here. Look at the way he never stops that ball. He knows exactly where the space is. He uses both feet, one to touch and one to move the ball on. And the final decision's probably not the one he'd take second time around, but still, it's just wonderful technical ability.
No doubt plenty of eyes on the likes of a Clayton Taylor as well, attracting a lot of attention, both in Australia and internationally, with some of his finishes. Of course, the hat-trick last week against Adelaide United. And Burnsy's spot on with the complementary fashion of that front three for the Newcastle Jets. Will Marine, just a little grab of the knee after that last challenge. Shamoon with a centering pass, really clever to Taggart. Grappling for a bit of contact, and again it's Max Burgess just to disrupt. Now the counter-attack. Here is Taylor. Puts on the afterburners. Has it Rose inside. Rose facing one. Squares up to Adams. Bayliss. And just then, foot's taken off the gas. Will Marine inside. His pass blocked as well. Just how quickly the Newcastle Jets close the space and win back possession.
Yeah, spot on, the counter press. It's on, it's very calculated, very coordinated. It's something that they have clearly worked on the training pitch many times, because the time they pick to go and press the ball and the area they go and press the ball is absolutely spot on more often than not.
Foul against Luca Tevere. Perth with the free kick to play quickly. That over the top will be comfortably dealt with by Joe Shaughnessy.
And Shaughnessy just pointed to a spot where he would have preferred James Delianov to be, so he could have played the ball back to his keeper. And safety first. When in doubt, kick it out.
One of the elder statesmen of the Newcastle Jets team, Joe Shaughnessy. As that one is left Sam Sutton a little sore. To his feet, okay to continue. Sutton, switch of play, stretches things to Charbel Shamoon. Clever use of the touch. Shamoon blocked by Will Marine. Despotovsky cleverly understood he had returned from an offside position. Shamoon, Diabru, he hasn't been able to get on the ball so much. Freeney, a little clip over the top, an awkward deflection and almost disastrous for Newcastle.
Well, the one time Freeney wasn't shooting for goal, he almost scored. Look at that for a deflection. That could have gone anywhere. Freeney, we've seen him unleash a couple from outside the box tonight. That was supposed to be a pass. Almost nestled in the Newcastle net.
Perth's corner. Run it up and over, and again just lands on the net for James Delianov.
For all the dominance that Newcastle have had, they've got a goal to show for it, but when Perth have got into their top third, defensive third of Newcastle, they've looked almost likely to create chances that are really going to trouble Newcastle. We've seen Adam Taggart get into the box a couple of times with near misses. Seen that deflection off the Will Freeney pass.
Well, it skipped all the way through. Delianov off his line well, had to be alert to danger. Perth take the throw quickly. Here's Shamoon. Kucharski. His run was there, as was Shaughnessy. Now a chance for Perth to build from the back. Newcastle sitting in a deeper defensive shape. And Kaltak picks out Despotovsky. His header is back with Despotovsky. Shamoon tries to thread a pass. Delianov again is off his line.
Yeah, I mean, that had to be absolutely slide rule and perfection if it was going to pick out another purple shirt. But one thing that will give Perth confidence is the fact that Newcastle have conceded the second most goals in the competition. 28 goals against, just behind, 5 behind Wellington. conceded 33, so there is a route to goal against this Newcastle side. Perth just need to find it.
Well, spot on, Mossy. Newcastle in their last 6 wins, only one of them they've kept a clean sheet, so they're certainly susceptible. Risk-reward, the rewards are high, but the risks are there as well. Inside the last 5 minutes of this opening half, which has been really entertaining. There's still plenty to come in this one yet. Here's Freening. Has a little glance around, quick back over the top. Again, neat work shown by the Newcastle players. That touch from Adams showing a little too much. Despotovsky again swarmed by Newcastle defenders. Burgess again coming out with possession.
You're right, Gilly. It has flown by this first 42 odd minutes. In my experience, I know you've done quite a few Perth games as well. It really doesn't even warm up until the second half. So strap in for what's ahead. A rip-snorting second half of football.
Sutton does well to find Charbel Shamoon. Kacharski is wide on the right. Early look over the top, but he's just sprayed the pass. That's all too easy for Newcastle. Wilmer in down the line, his touch heavy.
But you're right, the way they played through Perth then, it was all too easy. It's just an uncharacteristically poor touch from Wilmering. Let Perth off the hook because something nice was building for Newcastle. It's their ability to find space and then pick the pass. The players on the ball when they're facing forward, they're looking for the pockets. And generally there's a white shirt willing and able to receive the ball in those pockets, turn and face forward, and if they can't face forward, they're bumping the ball first time to someone who is facing forward, and that helps you move the ball quicker.
Route 1 football, searching for the ball over the top. Taggart has just a moment to think about it. Pushes the pass through to Shamoon, but that's asking an awful lot of the overlap. "90 seconds of this first half remain, plus stoppage. This runs into a bit of trouble. The referee, Lockie Keevers, says it was a bit too much.
Well, I think the focus of Adam Griffiths' half-time team talk will be on a bit more patience when they're on the ball. They're giving the ball away too cheaply to a side that uses it so well in transition. Perth just need to build a little bit more sustained pressure with some weight of possession. When they do work their way into that top third, they'll know that there is a route to goal off those statistics that we just mentioned before. They just need to pick the right pass.
Here's Shamoon. Into the feed of Tevere, but the throw-in goes the way of Newcastle.
I think in the other dressing room, Millsy will be focused on making sure his side goes for the second, keep playing the way we're playing, keep dominating possession, stay patient in the top third, but we're going for the second and then the third.
So 2 minutes of stoppage time added to the end of this first half. The pressure again still flying in from Adams. And now Lockie Rose upends the Perth defence. Here's Taylor. Options in the middle if he can pick them out. Does so really well. And just how quickly Newcastle can turn defence into attack. That's a big moment.
Huge moment. Will Dobson was in the right place at the right time, and he gets a strike away. Scott Wootton does just enough to get his leg in the way of the angle of the shot to deflect it past the far post. But a warning sign. Had Newcastle scored then, it would have been a mountain decline for Perth Glory.
Well, quick corner again. Wolmerine helps it in. Shaughnessy a little too heavy-handed in his challenge. Spent a lot of his career playing in Scotland. Did Joe Shaughnessy.
He's suggesting that was a Scottish challenge inside the penalty box from a big defender, Grace.
I would never. A physical lead over, we know, in the Scottish Premier League. But he's added a bit of experience and composure at the back. Joe Shaughnessy has.
Yeah, he certainly has. And it's the experience that Newcastle need with so many young players.
Taylor, a wall of purple to beat. Diabru can get his foot on the ball. Past one, can't get past another. A little clip, maybe. Nothing doing, says the referee. So time all in the hands of the referee. Maybe one last foray forward, cleared away by Perth's defence. There it is, half-time at HBF Park, and what a half it has been. A wonder strike from Lockie Bayliss for his 4th of the season, got scoring underway in the 15th minute. An entertaining first 45 and plenty to look forward to in the second half. Lockie Rose has been busy as well. It feels like there's goals to come in this fixture yet. But half-time at HBF Park, it's Perth Glory 0, Newcastle Jets 1. But don't go anywhere, the half-time show is on the other side of this short break.
Got you, mate, loud and clear. Say that again, mate. Yeah, yep. Thanks for watching. Looking at the highlight package for Maxi Burgess. All good? Okay, thanks.
Hey, Jake.
How you going?
Good, mate.
Well, it's been all Jets.
Yeah, big time. I'm glad we're focusing on Maxi as well.
Oh, mate, yeah. Look, I mean, I know a lot's been said about Clayton and Eli and the likes and Lockie Rose. But yeah, what he's doing there, particularly the transition from being a player with his back face to goal, to be able to pull the strings in there, he compliments him so well.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Hungry Jacks halftime show. We'll get back out to HBF Park very soon. But firstly, let's take a look at some of the action in the A-League this Saturday. Grace Gill and Andy Harper, welcome. Let's start with Melbourne Victory taking on Brisbane Roar. Victory come in with a recent win over Wellington, but Brisbane Roar, they're the talking point right now. Michael Volkanis seeing red for the second time against the Central Coast Mariners. Harps, what are you expecting from this one?
Fascinating to tune in. Victory need to keep rolling. They know that. They've shown great signs in recent months after a slow start to the season, but every now and again they drop the clutch and they hit neutral when they need to drive forward, and this is another weekend where that's going to be the case, and a lot of focus on Brisbane for the meltdown last weekend and a bad home loss as it turned out against Central Coast, but help on the way for Brisbane and their fans. They signed a Norwegian centre-back, Marius Lauder. He starts, I'm not sure if he'll be available for kick-off, but it's a big get for Brisbane because they've been hemorrhaging players, hemorrhaging points, and they need to steady their own ship, Grace.
Yeah, they do, and especially since Harrington's departed, they haven't quite solidified that back line. We know Jay O'Shea's been in and out with injury, and they've had to rely on the likes of a Sam Klein, who, mind you, their leading goal scorer last season, but can't be their single point of reliability. As for Melbourne Victory, you're right, they've sort of stuttered at times across the season, and they haven't necessarily brought in as many reinforcements at this point in the year. I really like what a player like Seb Esposito is doing for the club. Yes, he scored, but I think he's been a really sure point at the back where they have had some frailties, but they need to find that consistency. And against Brisbane, with, as we know, have been, well, we mentioned stuttering. Brisbane have well and truly stuttered across the last couple of weeks. They need to find a bit more there.
As you mentioned, Brisbane did come out of this one on top last time in round 6, so we'll see what happens. Let's move on to the second game of the evening. That is Sydney FC taking on Adelaide United. Adelaide have obviously seen an injury for Craig Goodwin. Very unfortunate at this point of the season, particularly with that Socceroos aspirations on the horizon as well for Goodwin. I want to talk how that's going to impact the game, but also 2 new recruits for Sydney FC as well. Very exciting stuff, Grace.
Well, Apostolos Stamatolopoulos, we got so used to saying his name 3 years ago with the Newcastle Jets because he was in flying form, and that's what afforded his move over to Scotland and Motherwell, where he has been finding the back of the net a bit. So I love this signing for Sydney FC. I think where they've struggled across the course of the season has been that consistent goal scorer. There was such a reliance on Joe Lolly. He's been in and out with injury. But to my mind, having the likes of Stamatolopoulos working with Joe Lolly when he comes back to full fitness, Harps, is something I'm really looking forward to.
Huge statement by Sydney. A lot of the talk in last off-season and through the early rounds of this season, indeed it's endured, is these great kids that we're finding, and there's so many prodigies around the place. It's almost hard to count them, really. And yet to the end of the transfer window, and Sydney have said we need some rusted on big-time players. Stamatolopoulos is certainly one of them, still with a lot of football in front. Ahmed Arslan is at the more mature end of his career, but still at a great playing age, 32. Very strong playing statistics. This is a massive statement from Sydney, huge statement. Now, I guess some of the chatter is going to be, what does this mean for Campuzano and for Quispe, the Peruvian, in midfield, and the Spanish Campuzano, the Spaniard up front? Are there places in the squad directly under threat by these signings? Ufuk Talay and the club want to win. They've pulled the reins in the transfer window at the last minute. Let's see how it works. Very exciting prospects. Very
exciting. Lots of football to look forward to on Saturday night. But for now, let's go take a look at the highlights from the first half.
Let's dig right into the Harvey Norman highlights, and Phil Moss. This one was pretty special.
Yeah, it certainly was. Lockie Bayliss saying to his teammates Clayton Taylor and Eli Adams, whatever you can do, I can do just as well. And he finds his space on the edge of the box and really puts his laces and his toe around that one to make sure it curled into that far post bottom corner. And it was a fantastic strike. Perth will have an inquisition into how they defended. It wasn't good at all. But for me, the statistics, just show a very dominant performance. I know it looks like 5 shots to 3 on goal in favour of Perth, and only 1 shot on target each. But really, Newcastle have run the first half, and I'm really looking forward to hearing the thoughts of Jacob Burns at half-time about Max Burgess and the influence he's had in midfield as someone who used to be a number 10. He's now more of a number 6 or a number 8, if you like, but he's been phenomenal for me in that first half.
Well, before we get down to Jacob Burns, let's have a look at some of the Perth Glory chances, because as much as they haven't been able to capitalise, they have had some moments looking forward.
Yeah, that's right. And Newcastle have got the second worst defence in the league, so Perth will gain some confidence by that as long as it stays at 1-0. And you can see Taggart making some inroads. We've seen Will Freeney pull the trigger from outside the box. Was unlucky with a deflected shot that nestled on top of the net. There's Freeney from outside the box again, finding the goalkeeper in James Delianov. But Perth have made some inroads, and that'll give them confidence. But I think Adam Griffiths will really focus at half-time on just sustainable pressure built by keeping the ball for longer periods.
Well, Burnsy, what has stood out to you in that first half?
Well, it's been an exciting first half. Unfortunately for Perth Glory fans, it's been all Newcastle Jets. The highlights there show really Perth Glory sitting in and really looking to be more of a counter-attacking team against the Newcastle Jets that have just run riot in between the lines, and with a lot of talk about the front three up there in Lockie Rose, Taylor and Leo Adams. But for me, Maxi Burgess has been so impressive in the conductor in the middle of the park, just playing forward. It's been a real feature of everyone in midfield, but particularly him organising the troops, because Glory, we know, are home with the likes of Adam Taggart and Kaczarski. They can hurt you in transition. So he's there at the breakdown, he's breaking up the plays. You can see in the highlights, he's involved in everything. But his calmness and composure when he gets on the ball, to be able to play forward, to be able to dictate the play, is really setting this Newcastle Jets team up.
Well, thanks, Burnsy. He has well and truly been a standout. That was the Hungry Jacks half-time show. And there is plenty coming up on Paramount Plus. The Melbourne Derby, Ninja A-League on Sunday afternoon. Don't miss the ACL Elite on Wednesday. Melbourne City with another fixture. Aren't they just flying at the moment? The ACL 2 round of 16, second leg. MacArthur looking to get their own back on Bangkok United. And of course, UFC Fight Night. Don't miss that one. Well, the second half is not too far away, but of course, a big game in the Melbourne Derby is just around the corner.
As Derby days in the Isuzu UTE A-League go, they don't come much bigger than this at Amy Park. And here's Caputo. Oh, what a finish! Took it first time. Grimaldi now. Grimaldi strikes there. No, and he's done it! In the first minute of stoppage time, something had to give.
We are back at HBF Park for the second half of this round 17 fixture between Perth Glory and Newcastle Jets. And Dazza is making an appearance on the field of play. Plenty to enjoy about the first 45 minutes, plenty to look forward to in the second. The Newcastle Jets currently holding on to a narrow 1-0 lead in the driver's seat in the first half. Thanks to Lockie Bayliss. Wonderful strike in the 15th minute. No subs as it stands for either side. Big halftime talks. Newcastle, of course, still on top of the A-League ladder. As we get the second half underway, this time the Jets with kickoff looking to spring forward. The header of Eli Adams doesn't quite find Bertolicio. But no changes just yet, Phil Moss, although I'm sure in the next 10 or 15 we'll start to see those ring through.
I think you're right there, Grace. Certainly from a Perth perspective, I think things were going quite nicely for Newcastle in that first half. If the 11 that have kept their positions out there for Perth can't change things, I'm sure Adam Griffiths will look to from the bench.
Just as he left off in that first half, Max Burgess breaking up play. As you see the teams as they lined up at the beginning of the game, running through down the bottom there. And Perth need a bit of a response. It's a nice touch. Taggart runs into Shaughnessy. A win tonight would not only keep Newcastle on the top of the ladder, but extend the distance by 5 points. Still, of course, with more football to be played across the weekend. Adams might want to add to that. That is a wonderful defensive move. Brilliant sliding challenge by Scott Wooden. We've seen that a few times tonight.
We have, just before half-time, he was Johnny on the spot to thwart a chance from Will Dobson. And that time he had to be so sharp up against Eli Adams.
Well, chance, and it's steered into the back of the net. Blinken, you'll miss it. Lockie Rose has a bit to say about that. Early in the second half, Newcastle have doubled their lead.
Well, you're right, Blinken, you will miss it. It's a set piece from the corner that was played short once again. And this is a set play straight off the training pitch. Gets a little bit lucky with the deflection that finds its way to the grateful foot of Lockie Rose to tap it into the roof of the net. But that is straight off the training pitch, that one. A short corner with willing runners, and they've picked apart the defence of Perth Glory at that set piece. And Lockie Rose, that is one of the easiest goals he'll ever score, but potentially a very, very important one in the context of this match and the league table.
Well, Lockie Bayliss in the first half, his goal also from a quickly taken corner. Now Lockie Rose the second half, a set piece taken quickly, moved sharply. It wasn't the cleanest of defensive efforts by Perth Glory, but nonetheless, L.A. Rose was on the spot. He's got 8 for the season. He joins Ifeani Eze in that top spot. And they want more. Here come the Jets. Taylor skips past one. Kaltak there to cover.
Well, Adam Griffiths will be absolutely filthy, because as a coach, the one thing that you pride yourself on is defending set pieces. I mean, there's plenty that you pride yourself on, but defending set pieces, you can analyse the opponent, you can see their variations, and you can and set yourselves to defend it. So to give away 2 on the night, both to short corners from Newcastle, with a thorn in the side of the Perth Glory coach and his staff.
Well, Lockie Rose indeed. A thorn in their side at the back, and now Perth need an answer, and they need it quickly. Luca Tevere finds Sam Sutton, and Wootton, who's been excellent, all things considered. That pass was a little mishit from Giovanni Diabrou. Well, there's a look at the Golden Boot ladder. Top of the pops, Lachlan Rose, 8 goals. Ifiani Eze, Clayton Taylor nipping at the heels as well. Wilmerine inside to Bayliss. Pass short to Taylor.
You just can't begrudge Lockie Rose being at the top of that list because he works so hard for the team. He's such a willing runner. He's one of those players that works just as hard defensively as he does when his team have got the ball. So to see that rewarded with goals on a consistent basis is nothing less than he deserves.
Adams has a little glance forward. Rose is in the middle of the park. Clayton Taylor on the far side, just poked away by Perth's defence, still now with Newcastle. Dobson back through Burgess, central to Wilmerine. The pressure starts to pinch forward from Perth. Taylor cool under pressure, as is Max Burgess. That pass a little predictable. Again, it's comfortably dealt with by the Newcastle Jets. Eli Adams, a little clip of the heels from Diabrou. Well, I'd say this is a little far out for a direct effort, but we know what Eli Adams is capable of from a set piece.
He gets his knuckleball out, anything's possible, but it is a long way out. There's no doubt about that. This will have to be something right out of the top draw. You would imagine to beat Matt Sutton from all of 30 metres. Still, you wouldn't put anything past this Newcastle side, the form they're in.
Well, it's Dobson and Adams over the ball. 3-man wall, plays to their left as an option. Little clip over the top from Adams, searching for Burgess, cleared away Perth's defence. Newcastle will get another chance to recharge, reload in.
And no surprise it was Brian Kaltak who won the header for Perth Glory. I still teams would be best served to block him.
Turn inside. Taylor dances over the ball. Shot blocked. Another chance, but it's gone skyward.
Yeah, I still think attacking teams, Grace, when they've got set pieces, should be sacrificing a player to block the run of Brian Kaltak. Legally, of course, because he's so dominant in the air defending set pieces. You take him out of the equation, and this is nothing against Scott Wootton or any other defender in purple, but Brian Kaltak is so incredibly effective at winning defensive headers. I just think it would load the dice in your favour of getting more joy from set pieces.
Well, on the contrary, you can understand why Newcastle have played short corners and quickly. It's worked well. 2 goals from well-worked set pieces so far. Lachlan's in full charge tonight. Bayliss and Rose, a goal in each half. Perth need to find a reply. Here's Wootton. A little bump from Burgess to Tevere. Turn in the middle from Taggart. Stretches the field wide, but the pass is just behind Shamoon. Perth now, Kaltak. His delivery into the middle. Taggart, wonderful in the air, just tries to redirect the header to Kaczarski. First changes of the night. Trent Ostler and Stefan Kolakovsky will be the two players to come on. Kacharski makes way. Sev Despotovsky, the other player as well. So Ostler, this is his 15th appearance. Kolakovsky, just his 4th since rejoining the club in the number 67. Both players have found the back of the net this season, so a bit of attacking intent. Signal from Adam Griffiths.
Yeah, I think it's smart to go to the bench a little bit early in the 60th minute, just to give both players a chance now at 2-0 down to have an impact on this game, find their rhythm. Kolakovsky, we saw, I think it was just last week, come off the bench and score.
That's a great searching ball over the top, and here he is, a super important hand from Delianov. Rose to grab it, to get a little touch. What an impact that would have been from Kolakovsky, his first touch since coming on.
And there was no flag from the referee's assistant on the far side, so that is a chance gone begging with his very first touch off the bench, just as we mentioned.
Pass left just a little short for Matt Sutton, and you've got Lockie Rose bearing down. It was a 91st minute finish last week for Kolakovsky that saw the draw against MacArthur.
Well, attention to detail. The coach's cap on. He says that was a really poor throw from Eli Adams. Wonderful young talent. That throw into the feet of Max Burgess was on the bounce in a tight area. And the result was that they gave possession away, and Perth have it now going forward.
Bertoluccio happy to slow things down. Sutton brought to a grinding halt. Just a tactical foul to allow the Newcastle Jets to set back up defensively. Sam Sutton standing over the free kick. Tevere coming across for support. Sutton in deep. Launched into the far side near Caltac. Perth's trying to fashion an opportunity. The ricochet leading to the glory corner. Ostler looking busy since coming on.
That's what you want, to win a set piece right in front of the shed, bring them to life. We're going to need their 12th man in the second half, Perth, if they're to get back into this game.
Referee with a quick word of warning. Sutton's corner. The in-swinger hung up right on the 6-yard box. Delianov is out. Tevere on debut, little touch outside, now to Diabru, pokes it forward, Adams through Taylor. Adams is launching through the middle of the park. If he can be found, and his touch just skips through his legs. Rose now an option as he's helped through. Matt Sutton is across to cover end to end, but in the end harmlessly.
Yeah, and they're the situations that Newcastle eat for breakfast, lunch and dinner, isn't it? And the ball's deep in their half and they can break in transition in a broken field. They're at their absolute deadliest. It didn't amount to anything on that occasion. The way that they defended the second phase of that set piece, they just had too many bodies around the ball and then broke through Clayton Taylor.
"15 days to go. The AFC Women's Asian Cup is well and truly around the corner, just 2 weeks. Of course, the Matildas in their first game against the Philippines in Perth. That's coolly dealt with by Delianov.
Oh, it's so exciting, Grace, isn't it? Have the Asian Cup on home soil, 2 major tournaments on home soil in just a few years. Our beloved Matildas. It's going to be a wonderful tournament. Plenty of Aussie coaches involved too. both with the Matildas and visiting national teams. There'll be a lot of interest in this tournament.
So much to look forward to. Perth now looking for a charge for that one. Harmlessly to Delianov, who wants to play quickly. Long clearing kick is searching for Rose, and Sutton is well off his line.
And it was Will Freeney again with a shot on target from outside the box. Certainly willing to back himself, isn't he?
Industry, Stefan Kolokovsky. He's worked really well there. Now Sutton, the cutback into Shaughnessy. Kolokovsky brings that level of energy and Industry. Across the cover is Diabru. And he's been really sound since coming in, Giovanni Diabru, but hasn't been able to get on the ball as much tonight given the strength of this Newcastle midfield. Perth have wrestled back just a little bit more in the way of possession in the opening passages of this second half. Natta is brought to ground, looking for the free kick. Charbel Shamoun is not having any of it. West Glory corner. So right on the 60-minute mark again, it will be Sutton on his left boot to take the in-swinger. Look at the huddle of Perth players. Taggart just at the back of them. Taggart, Osler, Kaltak. Good aerial targets. Wooten just keeping company to Delianov. Plenty of jostling. Sutton's corner, hangs it up again to a dangerous area. Delianov reads well. Bayliss sweeps through. A lot of traffic into the hands again of the goalkeeper. That's a wonderful throw to pick out Clayton Taylor. 1-2 touches, a long switch, rangy pass to Adams.
Fantastic goalkeeping, James Delianov. Under pressure, first of all, gets a fist to it. Second phase, picks it up cleanly through traffic. He would have seen it late, and then his release was phenomenal. Almost covered over half the pitch with a throw to set his team's transition to attack up. Now again, maybe put to work if Perth can fashion something into a dangerous area. They've definitely had a little bit more time on the ball in this second half. Newcastle just starting to retreat. We're not quite seeing the intensity of press from the Jets as what we did in the first half. But here's Kolokovsky, runs into Bertolicio, stands his ground well. Inside to Taylor. Kolokovsky, the pressure coming through. Now Rose. Well, it's well worked by the Jets. That's a good tackle by Freeney. Tevere, Taggart looks to get the shot on side. Well, Burnsy mentioned this in the first half from pitch side. He said the sharpness of Newcastle and the physical superiority that he was seeing down at that level was blowing his mind, and you can see it now. Newcastle are conserving a bit of energy defensively, sitting in a block with a 4 and a 5 in midfield with Lockie Rose up front by himself. But when they go, they really go, and they are not losing any one-on-one contests. It's really impressive.
Here's Dobson, the 18-year-old. The ball through and back at the feet of Will Dobson. The shot's blocked. Still with Newcastle, now Bayliss. He thinks about another shot, threads it out to Adams. Hangs it up high and long, and a little hand of apology from Eli Adams.
Here's the back heel from Clayton Taylor. Under the feet of Will Dobson. Didn't come off on that occasion, but you can see the understanding. They know where each other is. They know the runs they're making. Their awareness both of space and and teammates is the result of a lot of hard work on the training pitch.
Kolakowski drives inside. There's Tevere outside, Sutton underneath. Here's Tevere. Luca Tevere cuts in on his right. It's a nice delivery, a dangerous area. Delianov again, he's had a busy few moments in this second half.
Yeah, there was only a metre between that being a fantastic ball and one that Delianov could come and catch. Great to see the trust put in Tevere by Adam Griffiths. Just joined the club this week and he's straight into the starting 11. Fully deserving, as I think you said in your opener, Grace, of the opportunity to come to the professional level. Lit the Australia Cup up. And now he gets his opportunity.
He's on the ball, Tevere. He did score the 2 goals against Newcastle Jets when playing for Avondale. From all accounts, trained the house down throughout the week to afford his spot in the starting side. So 65 minutes into his professional debut as Newcastle ready. A couple of changes on the sideline. Waiting in the wings. But for now, Newcastle with some defending to do. Here's Sutton, nice touch to bring that down. More patient this from Perth Glory. Osler links into Shamoon and Wilmarine will clear for distance. We will see those changes now. So Ben Gibson arriving to replace Lockie Rose. A little frustrated shake of the head from Lockie Rose.
And here's the goal from Lockie Rose. The second short corner that paid dividends for Newcastle this evening. An easy finish for Lockie Rose, but an important goal nonetheless to take him to the top of the Golden Boot standings. He's certainly put a shift in for his side on and off the ball tonight.
Other change, Will Dobson making way for Lucas Scicluna. So Scicluna, younger brother, of course, of Dylan, the Western Sydney Wanderers. And this is the 5th appearance of this campaign for Lucas Scicluna, the 20-year-old. So 2 changes apiece for each coach. Just under 25 minutes to play in Perth, with a bit more of a handle into this second half. And that pass is left a little narrow for Eli Adams. It's a 2v1 if he can make it. That's a clever ball in through the substitute. He's clipped and there's a decision to be made. The colour is red and it's shown in the direction of Brian Kaltak, who has been given his marching orders.
Well, it's unfortunate those sort of red cards in the train of events start much further up the pitch, but it's a really clever run across the line of Brian Kaltak by Ben Gibson. He knows if he gets across the defender, he either has to pull him down or let him go. And Kaltak feels that he has no option to grab him by the shirt or the shorts, and then I think the legs clip him as well, and referee Lockie Keevers has absolutely no choice but to red card Kaltak.
Stefan Kolakowski, Adam Taggart in discussion with the referee. Lachlan Keevers has a quick word, and Brian Kaltak to the sheds early. So doesn't that just change the complexion of the game? First of all, a free kick in a very scoreable range. Perth now down to 10 men for a little over 20 minutes.
Well, one of 2 things will happen. Either Newcastle will make that numerical advantage pay and put Perth to the sword, or they'll find it tougher to play against 10, as we've seen so often in football, and it'll galvanise Perth and they'll throw everything at Newcastle.
So a defensive change here. Luca Tevere leaves the field for his A-League debut, and Zach Lizalajski is on for his 4th appearance of the season. The 20-year-old defender has a tactical shift. Given that red card, I'm sure we'll see just how that'll shake out. So a quick discussion over the ball. Taylor Adams. The right boot of Clayton Taylor, which has been pure magic. And the left wand of Eli Adams. Take your pick. It'll be Adams into the wall, does its job well. Now Burgess, blocked again by Kolakovsky. Still alive with Newcastle, is Burgess. Adams wheels around. There's Taylor inside, that pass not met. So 20 minutes remain. Newcastle still holding on to their 2-goal lead. Perth chasing, and a player down as well. Lizalajski with an early touch, now Kolakovsky. Burgess can't find his way through Diabru. Here's Lizalajski. It's a 4th red card for Brian Kaltak in the A-League. A wayward touch from Sam Sutton. Nice touch, Bertolicio. That ball has snuck out for a Perth throw. So a bit to think about here for Adam Griffiths.
Yeah, well, he stayed with a back 4. That is very clear. Lizalajski, straight swap for Brian Kaltak. Slotting in at centre-back next to Scott Wootton. So he hasn't sacrificed a defender to get an extra number further forward. And of course, with the front 3 of Newcastle, they stretch the pitch and stay quite high when they've got the ball. It's very difficult to sacrifice a defender.
Newcastle just swarming at the moment. He's Ben Gibson. Shakluna inside, looks for Adams. Forming a charge here, gets a shot away. Half shouts for contact in the box. Lizalajski, I think, wore that one on the chest. Over the top, Osler, a substitute with fresh legs, but Natta composed and comfortable.
Yeah, he read that well, Natta. Saw the forward run of Osler. Just gave himself a couple of yards to get there first.
Perth's next game is on the road against Adelaide United. Always a tough place to visit Coopers, and Newcastle back home next week against Macarthur. As it stands, with a bit over 15 minutes to go. Come back to that point in a minute, because Osler will have a ping from distance. Found its way through, not on target. Newcastle on track to go 7 wins in a row. Never before has that been done in the club's history.
They just keep breaking record after record. They've never done 4 on the trot, I think it was, and they did 5 in the A-League era, that is. And now they are well set for 7 on the trot. And with Auckland not playing this weekend, they don't play until Tuesday night against Sydney FC away in Sydney. So this really puts a bit of table pressure on Auckland, doesn't it?
Well, truly, that gap. 33 points for Newcastle, 28 Auckland as it stands. Last season, Newcastle, well, they won just the 8 games coming into tonight's fixture. They've already won 10. They're the only team actually in the competition not to draw a game, Newcastle. They commit fully to the task at hand.
I think we said it earlier, Grace, risk versus reward. Millsy's never the type to play for a point, never was as a player. I'm sure he won't be as a coach. Look, the job's not done, and he'll be the first to say 1 game at a time, etc., etc. But to have already had the Australia Cup in your cabinet and now sit top of the table, we've got 10 games to go. In your first season as a senior manager, it's quite remarkable as it stands.
Chance over the top, presents very kindly to Ben Gibson. Just enough pressure. Zalewski managed to put him off, but again, that came out of nowhere.
It did. It was just a simple ball over the top. Willing runner from Ben Gibson. In Ben Gibson, I should say. He'll be disappointed he didn't get that on target. He really should have gone across Matt Sutton. He went for the near post and just put his laces through it.
So he goes on. Sutton under pressure. Likewise, Sam Sutton, the ball over the head. Inside the final 15 minutes, rather, of this second half. And for the control that they'd wrestled back in the start of the second half, Perth Glory have had to sit back into their shell a little bit since the send-off of Brian Kaltak. Newcastle now back in control, just dictating the tempo. Adams. Good use of the body from Bertolicio. Shikluna. Bayliss. Wilmerine has a bit of space. Taylor loves it on his right foot, thinks about it. Wilmerine, the supporting run. Bayliss again. And he gets the shot away, and if he wasn't already catching the attention of the All Whites New Zealand coach, he certainly is with his performances this season, Lockie Bayliss.
Absolutely. He's putting his name right in the reckoning. If you want to know what a defence versus attack session on the training pitch looks like, that last passage of play was exactly what it looks like as Newcastle go to the bench again.
Clayton Taylor, that's the end of his night. Kota Mizunuma, his 10th appearance of the season. 35-year-old. And also Xavier Bertoncello, replacing Eli Adams. So Mark Milligan with the luxury of cycling through a number of these players. Fairly comfortable at this rate, but still a bit of football to be played. Neatly worked. Burgess, exceptional in the midfield tonight for Newcastle. That's a really clumsy challenge from Diabru. He's shown a yellow card, his 4th of the season, tinkering on the edge of a suspension, and in 9 appearances, 4 yellows in 9 games. It's quite a return for the young midfielder.
Yeah, there's a replay. Diabru No choice once again for referee Lockie Keevers.
Perth getting their foot on the ball, playing out under pressure. Wooten, the outlet, coming through the long pass. Helped on by Osler, but only to Shaughnessy. Burgess with time and space. Shikluna threads the needle. Alberto Licio. There's a Numa. Just starting to build here, Newcastle. Natta, wide to Wilmarin. Plenty of bodies in the box, inside to Bayliss.
Might just head down to Burnsy too, Grace, just to see if there's any messages coming from the benches. Burnsy, particularly from Adam Griffiths, once they went down to 10 men.
Yeah, Mossy, he's casting a very frustrated figure. He was already frustrated before Kartak got sent off with the lack of composure and the way that they haven't been able to control moments of the game, partly down to obviously how good Newcastle have been, as we've all spoke about in the breakdown. Now they've got their work cut out for them, you know, trying. I was just saying before that, you know, Glory have become a team a little bit at home, a counter-attacking team. They're kind of... They're starting to kind of have a bit of a trend of teams coming in and controlling large moments of the game. This might be another chance here, just as we're talking, Mossy.
Well, Mizunuma with time and space just needs to pick out a pass if he can, and that is a thundering strike from Xavier Bertoncello from the Jets Academy to an absolutely outrageous hit. There is no stopping a strike of that power. Newcastle are 3 to the good.
Well, they can score goals, can't they, Newcastle Jets? And this time it's super sub Xavier Bertoncello off the bench as Mizunuma breaks down the right-hand side on the Harvey Norman replay. Mizunuma just picks him out on the back post. Perth have plenty of numbers, but no one's taking responsibility to pick up the players in white shirts. Grass doesn't score goals. Players do. You've got to pick players up inside the box, and it's all too easy for Newcastle as Perth go to the bench again.
Oh, he absolutely put his laces through that. His 5th goal of the season, Xavier Bertoncello, and didn't he enjoy that one? Well, the super sub with a super impact. Newcastle in a league of their own. They are in cruise control. So in the break, another couple of changes for Perth. Callum Timmins, of course, a former Newcastle boy, onto the field of play. Gabriel Popovic as well for his 4th appearance of the season. But Perth have some defending to do. The ball slipped through. Heavy contact. Lachlan Keevers points the other way. Goal scorer Bertoncello is a little sore after that contact. Kozlowski's been brought on with a job to do. And he's doing it very well. Well, there's the APL's new CEO, Steve Rosich, formerly CEO at the Freo Dockers and Victorian Racing Club. So comes in to the Australian professional leagues with a fair amount of experience.
Yeah, good to see him out and about. And we wish him, of course, all the best in his new role. A lot of work to do around the A-League, the product on the field, actual football
Chance for Perth to get one back, maybe a consolation. Scooped away by Newcastle's defence. Now Shakluna clatters into Will Freeney.
Yeah, I was just going to say the product on the field is pretty good. The football's been fantastic. I think we've scored more goals this season than any other season. You see that replay of the free kick given away to Perth in a pretty good area. He's quite central. Steve Rosic, a big job to do promoting the league, getting the business model right. The game needs to wrap its collective arm around him to help make it work.
So a free kick for Perth Glory. Lucas Shakluna, a yellow card for the challenge. Lockie Keever's just stepping the line back. Delianov has set the wall. And it's just Sam Sutton standing over the set piece. Wozolowski is at the far post, but Sutton, all eyes on goal, you would think. It's a good strike, down to his left, Delianov. Still alive for Perth, swept back in, assertive goalkeeping.
Yeah, really good goalkeeping. Reasonably comfortable save from the free kick. It was a good strike from Sutton. Take nothing away from the strike, but reasonably comfortable for Delianov, particularly in the form he's been in.
Here's an Uber again. Space, like the goal before, and you could see what he was trying to do. Didn't have the wrap around, the pass that he needed. Gibson, just happy to slow Shamoon down, knows what he's doing there. Took a little deflection on the way through, it looked like, and Delianov was alert to it. So inside the final 5 minutes, Ostler cutting in on his right, a little clip to the far post. Nice ball, Trent Ostler. And it is not in the back of the net. It looked like it was, and the Shed were mistaken.
The Shed were with you, Grace. They were hoping it was in the back of the net to give us something to get excited about from a Perth Glory perspective. But the other statistic which is very interesting, Newcastle have scored 9 goals this season off the bench. #1 in the A-League, and we've seen that in full cry tonight, haven't we?
Seriously impressive when you talk about super subs, impact subs, exactly what you want, as Lockie Bayliss can be very pleased with his performance tonight. It's the 5th appearance for Alex Nunes. Just 35 minutes of football he's played so far across the previous 4. Jets Academy product, the 18-year-old, with a big few minutes ahead of him to enjoy.
Yeah, certainly has. It's party time for Newcastle now. They can enjoy this last few minutes, although I know Mark Milligan, he will want them to finish this game with good habits in a very professional manner, which I'm sure they will. But just a word on James Delianov as well, because the goalkeeper coach, Jess Van Straten, I think he's doing some wonderful work with Delianov. I worked with Jess when he was younger as a player and then as a coach at the Central Coast Mariners. He's a very, very good goalkeeper coach, very astute. Brings a personality to the dressing room as well.
Delianov has definitely had a couple of big moments. 5 saves, 5 clearances, in comparison to that of Matt Sutton, with just a couple of clearances to his name. Maybe another to add here. As Shakluna can stream forward, numbers for the Jets, and on that occasion Newcastle have fluffed their lines.
I think it was Bertoncello, funnily enough, who we saw find the back of the net with a fantastic strike. And I think on that occasion just had an air swing.
Well, Paramount Plus player index has the aforementioned James Delianov top of the pops. Busy evening, Max Burgess here, there and everywhere. Lockie Bayliss scoring the first goal. Sam Sutton and Newcastle rounding out the 5 with Will Marine. Burgess skips through the lines, nice touches. Congested area, Perth dropping all the way back in. A release pass to Kolakovsky. Marine tracking back to defence. Osler's free in the middle if he can be found. Chases down the cross. Waits for a bit of support. Now Sutton inside the last minute of regulation time. Wooten inside to Timmins. Timmins again switches the point of attack. Osler. Sutton, the run inside. Osler. Across a little short. Gibson will stride in front. Runs into Lizalaski, who has been really solid since coming on.
Well, that was heavy contact on Ben Gibson. Legal heavy contact. His touch was just a little bit heavy. Turned it into a touch tackle situation, as we see the fourth official showing us there it will be 4 minutes of added time. Shane Skinner.
Sydney FC up against Adelaide tomorrow, but now Perth still charging forward, and they do have a consolation. Kolakovsky, it's another 91st minute goal that he tucks into the back of the net. It may be a consolation, but the Shed like it, and Kolakovsky, well, he has his second of the season.
And both off the bench as well. Kolakovsky, he's proving to be a super sub on his return to full fitness. And he just knows where to be and when to be there, doesn't he? As Perth spread the play down the left-hand side on the Harvey Norman replay. And this time Osler gets the delivery just right to that back post. It was nodded back across by Charbel Shamoon. And Stefan Kolakovsky becomes Johnny on the spot to tap it home to at least give the Perth Glory fans behind that goal in the Shed something to cheer on an otherwise quite forgettable night for the Glory against a red-hot Newcastle.
Well, Mark Milligan will be furious. The clean sheet was there to be taken. And maybe just a little moments, a little lapse in concentration. In stoppage time, no less. Return the deficit. Nunez's pass is blocked. Maybe Perth have a second in them. Timmins stretches the field wide through Shamoon. Two minutes of before stoppage time have elapsed. Shamoon trying to fashion something, the deflection. Perth corner.
You can see James Delianov screaming at his defence to stay switched on. Don't get sloppy in these closing moments. You can see the frustration on Mark Milligan. He wanted that clean sheet.
Hung up high. Sutton over everyone. Zalaski will give chase. Shaughnessy helps it around the corner. Mizanuma. Freeney to beat. Timmins and Mizanuma grappling, shirt pulling. Free kick the way of Perth. Just over a minute to play. The goalkeeper in Sutton hasn't joined them yet, so they're not quite throwing it all here, but we're in the final minute of stoppage time. Sutton's delivery. Stretching over the top, nodded away by Wilnering. Re-entered Kolakovsky. Mizanuma, and a slight hush falls over HBF Park. Shakluna's released. And a little confusion at the back, an awkward one as players come together. And Sutton picks and plays quickly. Ostler. Just too much in the way of Newcastle pressure. Alicio, he's had a good game. Shakluna and Burgess, and time all in the hands of referee Lachlan Keevers. Still with the Jets. One last chance, covered by Wooten, who has done superbly tonight given the circumstances. Scott Wooten.
Yeah, he certainly has. He's been a tower of strength at the back for Perth, despite the fact they've conceded 3 goals.
Little glance down at the watch from Mark Milligan. And that'll be that. It's 7 undefeated, 7 wins in a row for the Newcastle Jets. And on the road, they've found all 3 points against Perth Glory. Newcastle at the moment simply unstoppable. It was a first half finish by Lockie Bayliss to get things underway. 1-0 at half time. Lockie rose into the second half, found the second. Xavier Bertoncello, a thumping finish not long after being substituted on. And what, in the end, is a consolation goal by Stefan Kolakowski. But again, his impact being felt. Newcastle Jets continue to perform in a league of their own. They're at the top of the A-League ladder. So full time at HBF Park. It's Perth Glory 1, Newcastle Jets 3. Well, entertaining at either end. A warm encounter. And Newcastle, deserved winners with that performance, you would have to say. Max Burgess here, there and everywhere for the visiting side. Really thoroughly enjoying that holding midfield role, pulling the strings for the Jets. And he's run out another successful game. Well, let's have a little look at the Alex Tobin medal points. All 3 points went the way of Max Burgess. 2 to Lockie Rose, influential again in his energy. And Lockie Bayliss with a wonder strike in the first half. Let's get straight back down to Jacob Burns.
The Ninja player of the match, Max Burgess. Talk me through that. What a performance from yourself and the team.
Yeah, it was